Constantinople was the capital city of the Roman, Byzantine Empire, and also of the brief Latin, and the later Ottoman empires. It was reinaugurated in 324 AD at ancient Byzantium as the new capital of the Roman Empire by Emperor Constantine the Great, after whom it was named, and dedicated on the 11th of May 330. For the mid-5th century to the early 13th century, Constantinople was the largest and wealthiest city in Europe, and it was instrumental in the advancement of Christianity during Roman and Byzantine times as the home of the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople and as the guardian of Christendom's holiest relics such as the Crown of Thorns and the True Cross. After the final loss of its provinces in the early 15th century, the Eastern Roman Empire was reduced to just Constantinople and its environs, along with Morea in Greece, and the city eventually fell to the Ottomans after a month-long siege in 1453. Constantinople was famed for its massive and complex defenses. Although besieged on numerous occasions by various peoples, the defenses of Constantinople proved invulnerable for nearly 900 years before the city was taken by foreign forces in 1204 by the Crusader armies of the Fourth Crusade, and after it was liberated in 1261 by the Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos, a second and final time in 1453 when it was conquered by the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II. The first wall of the city was erected by Constantine I and surrounded the city on both land and sea fronts. Later, in the 5th century, the Praetorian prefect Anthemius under the child Emperor Theodosius II undertook the construction of the Theodosian walls, which consisted of a double wall lying about 2 kilometers to the west of the first wall and a moat with palisades in front. This formidable complex of defenses was one of the most sophisticated of antiquity, and the city was built intentionally on 7 hills as well as juxtaposed between the Golden Horn and the Sea of Marmara, and thus presented an impregnable fortress enclosing magnificent palaces, domes, and towers, necessitated from being the gateway between 2 continents and 2 seas. The city was also famed for its architectural masterpieces, such as the Greek Orthodox Cathedral of Hagia Sophia, which served as the seat of the Ecumenical Patriarch.It, the sacred imperial palace where the emperors lived, the Galata Tower, the Hippodrome, the Golden Gate of the land walls, and the opulent aristocratic palaces lining the arcaded avenues and squares. Constantinople had a 5th-century university which contained numerous artistic and literary treasures before it was sacked in 1204 and 1453, including its vast imperial library which contained the remnants of the library at Alexandria and had over 100,000 volumes of ancient text. Constantinople never truly recovered from the devastation of the Fourth Crusade and the decades of misrule by the Latins, although the city partially recovered in the early years after the restoration under the Palaiologos dynasty, the advent of the Ottomans and the subsequent loss of the imperial territories until Constantinople became an enclave inside the fledgling Ottoman Empire rendered the city severely depopulated when it fell to the Ottoman Turks, whereafter it replaced Edirne as the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. Names before Constantinople. According to Pliny the Elder in his Natural History, the first known name of a settlement on the site of Constantinople was Lygos, a settlement of likely Thracian origin founded between the 13th to 11th century BC. The site, according to the founding myth of the city, was abandoned by the time Greek settlers from the city-state of Megara founded Byzantium in around 656 37 BC, across from the town of Chalcedon on the Asiatic side of the Bosphorus. The origins of the name of Byzantine, more commonly known by the later Latin Byzantium, are not entirely clear, though some suggest it is of Thraco-Illyrian origin. The founding myth of the city has it told that the settlement was named after the leader of the Megarian colonists, Byzas. The later Byzantines of Constantinople themselves would maintain that the city was named in honor of two men, Byzas and Antes, though this was more likely just a play on the word Byzantine. The city was briefly renamed Augusta Antonina in the early 3rd century by the Emperor Septimius Severus, having razed the city to the ground in 196 AD for supporting a rival contender in the civil war, and rebuilt in honor of his son Antoninus, the later Emperor Caracalla. The name appears to have been quickly forgotten and abandoned, and the city reverted to Byzantium, Byzantine, after either the assassination of Caracalla in 217 or, at the latest, the fall of the Severan dynasty in 235. Names of Constantinople. Byzantium took on the name of Constantinopolis after its refoundation under Roman Emperor Constantine I, who transferred the imperial capital from its historic base, Rome, to Byzantium in 330 AD and designated his new capital officially as Nova Roma or New Rome. During this time, the city was also called by Second Rome, Eastern Rome, and Roma Constantinopolitana, as the city became the sole remaining capital of the Roman Empire after the fall of the West, and its wealth, population, and influence grew. The city also attained a multitude of nicknames. As the largest and wealthiest city in Europe during the 4th–13th centuries and a center of culture and education of the Mediterranean basin, Constantinople came to be known by prestigious titles such as Basilousa, Megalopolis, and was, in colloquial speech, commonly referred to as just Polis or the city by Constantinopolitans and provincial Byzantines alike. In the language of other peoples, Constantinople was referred to just as reverently. The medieval Vikings, who had contacts with the empire through their expansion in Eastern Europe, used the Old Norse name Miklagath, and later Miklagard and Miklagath. In Arabic, the city was sometimes called Rumiyat al-Kubra and in Persian as Takti Rum. In East and South Slavic languages, including in medieval Russia, Constantinople was referred to as Tsargrad, Karagrad, city of the Caesar, for the Slavonic words Tsar and Grad. This was presumably a calque on a Greek phrase such as beta alpha sigma iota lambda epsilon omega sigma pi omicron lambda iota of sigma, the city of the emperor. Constantinople, also known as in Bulgarian Karagrad, in Bosnian, in Serbian, and or in Ukrainian. Modern names of the city. The modern Turkish name for the city, Istanbul, derives from the Greek phrase Iztinplin, meaning into the city or to the city. This name was used in Turkish alongside Constantine, the more formal adaptation of the original Constantinople, during the period of Ottoman rule, while Western languages mostly continued to refer to the city as Constantinople until the early 20th century. In 1928, the Turkish alphabet was changed from Arabic script to Latin script. After that, as part of the 1920s Turkification movement, Turkey started to urge other countries to use Turkish names for Turkish cities, instead of other transliterations to Latin script that had been used in the Ottoman times. In time, the city came to be known as Istanbul and its variations in most world languages. The name Constantinople is still used by members of the Eastern Orthodox Church in the title of one of the most important leaders, the Orthodox Patriarch based in the city, referred to as His Most Divine All Holiness the Archbishop of Constantinople, New Rome, and Ecumenical Patriarch. Quote, In Greece today, the city is still called Constantinopolis, Constantinopolis, simply just the city.